Kagurabachi is a manga title that must have appeared on your radar a few weeks or a few months back. It was hyped up to be the next big thing in the anime manga scene, even bigger than One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen. But let's set aside that absurd claim of the memers for a moment and see for ourselves if it's any good, especially since it's gaining a lot of steam again in the community after having its Volume 1 completely sold out in major stores. Now, let's start with the story. This process is called tanrin, or more simply, forging. It is a very important process in the craftsmanship of Japanese swords, or as they are called, katana. All katanas start from a lump of tamahagane steel, which is carefully and repeatedly hammered and folded to incorporate the right amount of carbon into the steel before it is shaped into a strong, sharp, and beautiful class of katana. This is the everyday livelihood of the father and son, Kunishige and Chihiro Rokuhara, whether the weather is cold or even if it's extremely hot. But today, Kunishige seems to be not in the mood and is very irritable. He is not normally this edgy. So at work today, Chihiro wonders what could be the reason why his father is in serious mode. Kunishige Rokuhara is the most famous master swordsmith in their entire area. And every day Chihiro apprentices under his wing. His father is extremely skillful in what he does and has a unique method for forging katanas. This is the typical day for the father and son. Kunishige is always a chill dude, always agreeing as if listening to the 3 goldfish they keep as pets. Chihiro is always the one who prepares their breakfast, and he always tells his father that people should be the ones talking in front of pets. But do the goldfish really have anything to say to him? They do. According to Kunishige, most of all, they want to dedicate themselves to learning. Naturally, Chihiro doesn't believe him. As a matter of fact, it was his father who bought those 3 goldfish. He was overjoyed when he came home that day. He felt like he hit the jackpot, especially since they're supposed to bring good luck. But Chihiro was not happy with his father's gift because he knew that, in the end, he would be the one taking care of the goldfish. Chihiro just accepted the responsibility. It's better than having his father eat them. While they continued to hammer metal, there was already a visitor just outside their place. Kunishige decided to take a lunch break and noticed that his son's arms seemed to be already getting bigger than his. Mr. Shiba entered their place, and he brought souvenirs from the town. He often visits them because he is a close friend of Kunishige. The father and son greeted him, and he said, "The condition of the town is still the same as usual, still full of chaos and turmoil." Upon entering the house, Mr. Shiba greeted the goldfish pets, and Chihiro, too. He told Chihiro that his father is a great teacher, so he should just trust his teaching methods. 15 years ago, during the Seitei War, his father was even more famous than swordsmen like Mr. Shiba himself, even compared to those who actually fought on the battlefield. That's just how epic the katanas made by Kunishige are. Chihiro's father is a true hero. He has saved many lives, and it's because of his katanas. Chihiro is happy to hear all of this, even though it has been mentioned to him over and over again. Mr. Shiba advises him that one day he will be like his father as long as he continues to be a hard worker like him. But Chihiro has heard this many times before as well. Mr. Shiba had more stories to tell, but since Kunishige seemed to be in a bad mood, he quickly left and said goodbye. Kunishige showed his irritability again and finally explained to his son why. Since Chihiro is about to turn 15 years old, it's time to show him the dark and mature side of being a swordsmith. Chihiro assured his father that he is also serious about following in his footsteps and really wants to become a swordsmith. But his father knew this already, so he was compelled to show what he needed to show his son. This katana is one of the katans he has made a long time ago, and others like it are just stored in their basement. Most of them were made at a time when Chihiro wasn't even born yet. Yes, these are katanas used during the Seitei War. The katanas he made are the reason why many lives were saved during that time. But the fact still remains that they are still tools used to kill people. Though they, as swordsmiths, are not the ones directly killing people, they still have to take responsibility for the lives of the innocent that could be taken if their crafted katanas are used by evil people. Chihiro needs to understand that the katana they make should be used by good people to protect the innocent against the evil. When the time comes for Chihiro to sell his first crafted katana, Can he uphold this responsibility? Chihiro's answer was that he wasn't sure, but he was committed to doing everything necessary for the cause. Kunishige seemed content with his son's response. If that really is Chihiro's conviction, then all Kunishige needed to do was to trust his son. 38 months later, here we are now in a town. Outside a large Japanese building, there were bodyguards seen carrying katanas. This was because inside, there was an interrogation and execution happening. Only one captive was left alive, so they were not in a rush to kill him. The boss was furious because of the posters spread by the anti-Korigami movement. They're the resistance fighting against the evil organization known as Korigami. They are known for their violence and for abusing their influence to control the wealth and lands of the city they dominate. The boss demanded the names of the man's comrades in their movement, but he was met with nothing but insults. The Korigami are bold because the people of the city do not know that a sorcerer supports their organization. The man challenged the sorcerer, and this was noticed by the sorcerer himself, who was actually present. He approached him and choked him with his powers. After receiving a bag containing money as payment for the city officials, the sorcerer returned his attention to the man. He told the organization's boss that people like him were only brave because they hadn't seen his true abilities yet. He asked the man if it was his first time seeing sorcery. Not receiving an immediate answer, the man first experienced torture before admitting yes. The sorcerer told their boss that they would leave them alone as long as the payments continued. However, it was not good for them to see upstarts like the anti-Korigami movement challenging them, so they needed to teach them a lesson. He teleported away, leaving the captives still chained up. On a train, we see Chihiro's current state with a katana in hand and a scar on the left side of his face. He met Mr. Shiba, who offered him grilled smelt. Apparently, they were supposed to meet at the station, not on the train itself. Chihiro declined Mr. Shiba's generous offer. Then Mr. Shiba asked Chihiro why he still hadn't removed the scar on his face. It was just too conspicuous. Chihiro replied that he wanted to see the scar in the mirror every day to remind him of the day he got it, because it gave him a reason to reignite his anger. Mr. Shiba showed concern, worrying that Chihiro might lose his mind over it, but he could not persuade Chihiro to change his mind. They arrived in the city ruled by the Korigami. Chihiro learned from Mr. Shiba that the Korigami were linked to the Yakuza. So Chihiro said, first, they needed to find out if this Yakuza group was the type that was reasonable and willing to make deals with others. But when they got to the city center, they saw 4 bloody bodies hanging under a bridge. This was Korigami's tactic to ensure no one else dared to oppose them. Mr. Shiba asked Chihiro what he planned to do, now knowing that the Korigami were truly bad people. Chihiro simply told Mr. Shiba to take him to their headquarters. Now they were in front of the Korigami's base gate. The bodyguards were joking around, with one of them saying that nobody should ever have enough guts to dare challenge them again. But while he was talking, a katana suddenly pierced his neck and got stuck on the wall. He died slowly, and Mr. Shiba remarked that he would handle the other opponents. Suddenly, Chihiro arrived and struck one of the guards' head against the wall. He was incredibly fast, and the opponents couldn't even see where he came from. They were decapitated almost simultaneously. Inside the base, the boss was on the phone, seemingly having received some information. He now knew that the man they were interrogating had a hidden little sister. He ordered his men to fetch the girl and bring her to the base. The man's composure broke, and he begged them. But before he could divulge the information they sought, when they opened the door, the guy who opened the door was immediately slashed. Chihiro was apparently already waiting there. He immediately severed the left hand of one opponent and bisected the torso of another. The man and the boss were shocked, unable to believe that their guards had been taken out so quickly. Mr. Shiba jokingly sat on a wounded opponent, chiding the boss for having lazy guards. He asked the wounded guy if he knew the child of Kunishige Rokura, but he's too beat up and frightened to respond. Chihiro had come to the Korigami base with a question in mind, and he could not allow the likes of them to wield the katana. They all became enraged and attacked him. Chihiro had to choose which of the 2 katanas he would use, and he chose the one above. The katanas created by Kunishige Rokuhira and imbued with sorcery. The enchanted blades he used to make the katanas possessed special powers. When Chihiro drew his katana, he uttered the word, "Enchanted." Water emerged, along with 2 large goldfish. The opponents were scared and shocked. This was because the katana Chihiro used was the last one made by his father before he died. Chihiro attacked and called upon the black goldfish. In an instant, he sliced through numerous opponents with a single slash. One who survived approached him, but Chihiro quickly jumped over him and slashed his hand and shoulder. His opponents waited for him to come down, but upon his descent, he summoned another goldfish, Nishiki. Meanwhile, outside the base, Mr. Shiba was casually smoking and chilling. He entered the base and saw that it was filled with the torn and severed bodies of their opponents. The tables had turned, and now the big bad boss was the one being interrogated. Chihiro demanded information about Hishaku, the group of sorcerers supporting the Korigami. Mr. Shiba had freed the man who was previously held captive by the enemy. While the boss was terrified of Chihiro, he said that only a madman would challenge a group of monsters like the Hishaku. Chihiro responded that he didn't care if they were monsters. He would do everything in his power to kill them. Shiba had just untied the captive's hands. He greeted him and introduced himself. The guy got a bit nervous when he saw how intensely Chihiro was interrogating the Korigami boss. Shiba butted in on the interrogation, claiming he's just gonna be there as a moral support. All that the two knew was that the Hishaku started forming 4 years ago. They consist of a group of elite sorcerers, but they weren't 100% sure if that was true. Hold on, Shiba was being too noisy, so Chihiro told him to be quiet for a while. Chihiro continued his interrogation of the Korigami boss, who was close to breaking. But just when he was about to turn and give information about the Hishaku, his face grotesquely disfigured as if it was about to burst. Suddenly, what looked like alien limbs made of wood burst from inside his body. Chihiro and Shiba managed to dodge, but the man they rescued couldn't escape. Luckily, Shiba was there to save him, using his teleportation technique. The rescued man felt nauseous and had to vomit since it was his first time witnessing and experiencing teleportation sorcery, a skill that Shiba used. In small cities like theirs, it's rare for people to see such skills. Shiba checked if Chihiro was doing okay inside, and it seemed the trap exhausted him greatly, even though he was mostly unharmed. They concluded that it must have been a high-level sorcerer who placed the spell on the boss's body. And it was a clever move on his part because the trap was set to activate only if the boss turned on them. The aftermath of their encounter that day was incredibly bloody. The place was filled with severed bodies and torn faces. Chihiro had killed many enemies that day, so it was normal for him to be extremely tired and wobbly as he walked out of the base. But Shiba was there to support him. Just 3 years ago, he had no experience in combat, so his progress was notably impressive. He hadn't even unlocked the true potential of his enchanted blade yet. Let's go back 3 years to the Rokuhara residence. That's the day that Chihiro bitterly relives every day. A magic barrier protected their place, also sending an alarm to Shiba if there was any interference. But when Shiba arrived that day, their place was destroyed and burning. He found Kunishige, his best friend, already dead. And Chihiro was there, dazed next to his father. Shiba asked what happened to them, and Chihiro said that 3 sorcerers suddenly appeared outside their house. He blacked out at that moment and couldn't remember much. All he recalled was the sorcerers surrounding his father while he lay wounded and losing consciousness. During the last war, Kunishige had forged 6 enchanted blades used by swordsmen from different parts of the world. But once the war was over, he took all 6 back and hid them in the basement of his workshop. When Shiba looked in that room, the enchanted katanas were gone. But at least Chihiro was alive, though injured. Chihiro remembered the day his father first showed him the 6 enchanted blades, each with its special powers. He thought his goal was simply to be able to forge an enchanted katana too. But his father taught him that it wasn't just about that. He had to think carefully about what kind of katana the world really needed. And that's the kind of katana he should aspire to make. Even Kunishige himself wasn't sure how to clearly see this, but he wanted to figure it out together with his son. But because of what happened that day, he could only pass on this dream to Chihiro. Chihiro sobbed over his father's death. He couldn't believe how heartlessly his father was killed, especially since his father didn't have a single trace of malice in his heart. They also saw that the 3 pet goldfish had died, but there seemed to be some sort of dark threads enveloping them. Chihiro vividly remembered the fire tattoo on one of the hands of the 3 sorcerers. Shiba tried to comfort him, but Chihiro's only response was a vow to show their enemies the conviction of his father by killing them all. Now, the katana Chihiro wields is the 7th and final one created by Kunishige Rokuhara. It's the katana that Kunishige spent many years crafting, and it's also the katana he protected by giving his own life. Chihiro contemplates this. He's also disappointed because he was close to getting a new lead on tracking the Hishaku. He unsheathes his katana and looks at the 3 goldfish that he and his father used to care for. He's worried because he knows that there might now be evil people using his father's katanas. He's eager to find the Hishaku. It's now early morning in Tokyo, and Shiba suddenly enters the room with good news. Finally, they have a lead. There's a recent sighting of an enchanted blade in a certain location, so they quickly head out. Shiba mentioned earlier that in big cities like Tokyo, there are many sorcerers to be found. Over 1,000 sorcerers are present there. Japan is a katana society, where owning a katana for self-defense is legal. So it's not surprising that Yakuza and large corporations often hire swordsmen. And this is apart from the sorcerers connected to them. Meet Hina. She works as a middleman between those offering job orders and mercenaries taking jobs usually related to being a bodyguard or hired muscle. This poster behind her, asking for information about the Hishaku in the hand with the fire tattoo, is a job order she received 3 years ago. That day, Shiba visited Hineo's place. They mournfully talked about the tragedy that just happened at the Rokuhara residence. It was then that Hineo learned they were friends. And that's also the time she first saw his son Chihiro. She agreed to help them, but no useful information about the Hishaku was forthcoming. She's been bored because she always ends up dealing with Yakuza and sorcerers. But this night in Tokyo, a unique customer enters, a little girl. Shortly after, Chihiro and Shiba also entered. Hineo is irritated by Shiba's loud mouth but is happy to see Chihiro. Chihiro thanks her because she was the one who contacted them about the witness who had seen an enchanted blade. And the witness is the little girl that's sleeping right there. When the girl entered earlier, she immediately told Hineo that she wanted to hire a sorcerer for protection, because she was being chased by a bad person. But there's a small problem: she has no money. What a head-scratcher. Hineo asks the girl what kind of bad person is after her. The girl says that the bad guy is using the world's strongest katana. Hineo suspects it might be an enchanted blade and promptly calls Shiba. But the two of them are skeptical about the girl's story, wondering if she's just making it up. Shiba can't believe they came all the way just because Hina trusted the words of a silly child. While they're discussing, the girl suddenly talks in her sleep. The hippos. Cell division. They wonder about the girl's strange dream as she suddenly wakes up terrified and gasping for air. When the girl sees Shiba and Chihiro, she asks if they are the sorcerers who will protect her. Shiba admonishes the girl and first asks why she's really being chased by a bad guy. But since she can't answer, Shiba sends her home, suspecting she's just goofing around them. The girl responds, saying she has nowhere to go. They learn that she's also an orphan with no parents. Chihiro approaches the girl and asks if she has already eaten. Perfect timing, the girl's stomach growls with hunger. The little girl immediately said tempura soba when she was asked what she wanted to eat. The girl is delighted because she's not being tricked. Shiba steps out onto the Tokyo streets for a smoke break. He reflects on how caring Chihiro has become, having had plenty of practice with his father. While eating soba, the girl introduces herself to Chihiro. Her name is Char. As Char enjoys her soba noodles, Chihiro tells her that he plans to take her to an orphanage after they eat. Char rejects the idea because she thought they were there to protect her. Chihiro continues to press the girl for the real reason why someone is chasing her. But Char struggles and is reluctant to explain, making it hard for Chihiro to move on from their conversation. But what's this? A suspicious-looking person has just entered the restaurant. In this situation, it's all about asking the right questions. Chihiro then asks Char to describe what the super strong sword she saw looked like. Char stutters but manages to give a description. Clouds were emanating from the katana wielded by the bad guy. Chihiro realizes from the girl's description that the sword indeed seems to be an enchanted blade. Chihiro continued the interview and further inquired if the girl had also seen a hand with a fire tattoo and whether the bad guy chasing her was alone. But as they were talking, the suspicious customer who had entered earlier started causing trouble and suddenly killed the waiter. He mentioned that he had finally found the girl, not expecting the girl to have a bodyguard with her. When Chihiro confronted him, the assailant used a skill called Invincible. Suddenly, an artifact with an ethnic appearance emerged and exploded right in front of Chihiro. Chihiro was blasted out of the restaurant by the force of the explosion, and the bystanders fled in panic. Chihiro realized he should not have doubted Char, who was now in the grasp of a henchman of her pursuer. And now, we're faced with an exhilarating rescue mission. At that moment, Shiba drove quickly to back Chihiro up. Currently, the two are still merely assessing each other. Ensuring Char's safety is Chihiro's immediate concern. Once that's secured, he intends to question his foe about the enchanted blade. Chihiro skillfully wielded Inten and Black simultaneously. He successfully freed Char from her restraints and signaled for Shiba to fetch the girl and teleport her away from the conflict. The adversary was taken aback, unaware of Char's additional protector apart from Chihiro. Shiba teleported Char away and inside his car. The child's expression was the sole reaction she gave off from her ordeal. Remarkably, she exhibited neither dizziness nor discomfort post-teleportation. Shiba contemplated this oddity, realizing Char was no ordinary girl. Indeed, it seemed a villain was truly after her. Char queried Shiba about the nature of their actions and her potential to learn such sorcery. Shiba affirmed, citing dedication as the key. Spirit energy, he explained, is the life force within all human beings, harnessed by sorcerers to conjure magic. As the battle resumed, the enemy sought a swift surrender, demanding Char's handover. Chihiro, standing firm, rejected this and braced for combat. Upon noticing Chihiro's enchanted blade, surprise registered on the foe's face. Char's curiosity was piqued by the emergence of a goldfish from the katana. Shiba had alluded to this blade as the apex of power, due to the enchanted blade's ability to intensify spirit energy to formidable levels. The resulting spirit energy becomes so potent that it materializes externally, assuming physical forms such as the goldfish from Chihiro's enchanted blade. Chihiro's strike was a blur, yet his enemy evaded it. A realization dawned. The goldfish wasn't just a mere creation based of spirit energy, it was the very essence of spirit energy itself. Confronted with an enchanted blade, the enemy was in disbelief. Overhearing his comments, Chihiro realized that Char's earlier accounts were in fact accurate. To gauge the blade's might, the enemy unleashed a torrent of explosives. While performing evasive maneuvers, Chihiro demanded the whereabouts of the enchanted sword. The enemy's pride swelled, mocking Chihiro's interrogation amidst an undecided battle. He then remembered that his main objective is to capture the little girl. Resorting to underhanded tactics, the foe spewed venomous blame on the child, aiming to draw her out. It was a ploy, attributing other people's deaths to her. That's when the vile truth surfaced. The adversaries were responsible for the murder of Char's mother. Displeasure was evident in both Shiba and Chihiro. The villain persisted with his explosives and his verbal assaults on Char. Chihiro felt a personal connection to the taunts, fueling his rage. Then, the enemy launched 3 more explosives, and Chihiro countered him with an unseen technique, red. A third goldfish materialized from his enchanted blade. Chihiro echoed the enemy's earlier taunt. Questions would have to wait, since their battle was still unresolved. With a mighty leap, Chihiro unleashed Black. The adversary narrowly sidestepped the formidable and swift slice. It became apparent that Chihiro's true effort had yet to surface. In response, the enemy released another volley of explosives, which Chihiro easily vaulted over. Unexpectedly, the enemy's swift maneuver enabled him to catch Chihiro from behind with his rope. He's got him in his clutches and was able to prepare a huge explosive. But instinctively, Chihiro mirrored the enemy's ability with red, rendering to himself the skill invincible. The enemy got caught in his very own explosive force. Witnessing this, Char understood Red's power was versatile, capable of commandeering other sorcerers' abilities. After Chihiro's epic win, the moment to interrogate the enemy had arrived. Shiba approached Chihiro, while Char is giving him praise. While still disinterested in the role of Char's bodyguard, he consented due to their common interests. It appears that the meaning of common interests is unclear to Char, but at least she is happy with it. Confronting the attacker, Chihiro asked 3 questions: the identity of his superior, their intentions for the child, and the location of the enchanted blade called Cloud Gouger. Fast-forwarding a few hours, after their return to Hinao's abode, Char was given new clothes that, although oversized, suited her charmingly. Hinao validated Chihiro's decision for their involvement, affirming Char's info was correct. Char suddenly experienced stomach cramps because of everything that happened earlier and with her not eating much, having only eaten 2 spoonfuls of soba. With Hinao having no food to offer, Chihiro left the kid under her care so he can head out alone and procure some food. Having consented, Hinao stayed as Chihiro embarked on his errand. Earlier today, Shiba had noticed Chihiro's hands trembling during the interrogation, a sign of accumulated stress from previous battles. Taking the reins of the questioning, Shiba told Chihiro to take the time off and rest, offering his car for the journey. He assured Chihiro that any new intelligence would be communicated promptly. Unbeknownst to Chihiro, Char had covertly joined him in the vehicle. Via phone, Hina explained that Char just wanted to accompany him to have some fresh air outside. Moreover, avoiding locations where sorcerers come and go and staying alongside Chihiro was deemed safer for her. That logic resonated with Char, bolstered by witnessing Chihiro's formidable strength. Her reluctance to stay put stemmed from a dark history of long-term confinement. Chihiro, perplexed by the idea, tried to ask her more about her past, but naturally, it's hard for her to talk about it. So he resorted to the question she responds to the most: "What do you want to eat?" Meanwhile, Shiba transferred their captive to a secluded place, binding him with an enchantment that bars sorcery skills. Commencing the interrogation, Shiba employed rigorous methods from the outset. The adversary, boasting of his superiors and group's might, remained defiant, continuing to demand the child's surrender. During a drive-through visit, Chihiro and Char picked up her favorite sandwich. Chihiro wanted to go back quickly, but Char asked to stop for ice cream, delaying their return. Yet still, Char was in no hurry to return. They thus paused at a cafe for a frappe, with Char affirming her informed decisions about food mattered greatly. That same evening, a Tide henchman, battered and bloodied, delivered dire news to their leader about the clash with Chihiro. The boss's displeasure stemmed from their failure to capture Char and his astonishment at learning of a 7th enchanted blade, beyond the 6 he was already aware of. With Char in Chihiro's company, their location remained elusive to his henchman. Consequently, he opted to unleash a so-called child from his cage. Now that Char has eaten, she is now ready to tell her story to Chihiro. She reminisced about a prolonged confinement in a dark place. She was only fed with poor prison food, but at least she could find some comfort being accompanied by her mother, who keeps wishing her to have a joyful life. And in the present moment, she recognized her own momentary happiness. Chihiro's reaction to Char's narrative was one of distress, as he contemplated the malevolent individuals who had imprisoned her and ended her mother's life. While Char was poised to elaborate, a call from Shiba interrupted, revealing their subsequent objective. The name of their next target is Junichi Sojo, a notorious figure in the illicit arms trade within Japan. The stubborn enemy gave in under pressure, admitting his boss had the magic Cloud Gouger sword. On the streets, vehicles halted at a green light amid an uncanny occurrence, and Chihiro found himself amidst an unsettling situation. A whirlpool materialized on the pavement along the intersection, as if the asphalt itself had turned liquid. Shiba instructed Chihiro to reconvene later at Hinao's place to deliberate over the possible connections regarding Hishaku. From the center of the whirlpool, a hand came out, and the thick liquid substance turned into a group of zombie-like humans. The sorcerer's creepy gaze met the eyes of Char. In fear, she hid her head inside the hoodie she is wearing. Chihiro then finishes the call, bracing himself for the forthcoming confrontation. Tonight's traffic jam was perfect for multiple tragic accidents. our protagonist is currently in a very precarious situation. He wondered how did they find out that Char was in the car with him, even though she was always hidden in the back. So, he needs to protect Char again, but now there are even more risks for collateral damage. It seems that the cars driven by the enemies are also surrounding him. The enemies, emerging from the vortex as if they were a zombie horde, are now approaching him. Suddenly, those from the surrounding vehicles smashed the windows and transformed into a black, gooey substance, charging at Chihiro. The gooey stuff engulfed their car and solidified. Just when the villain thought he had captured Chihiro and Char, Chihiro shattered the car's hood and the concrete covering them using his katana. Carrying Char, they managed to escape safely while the enemy glared at them menacingly. When Chihiro confronted his new enemy, he wondered why his enchanted blade was the target. Unbeknownst to him, they had become famous when Junichi Sojo posted a wanted poster in the criminal underworld's network, offering a large cash reward for anyone who could deliver the child and the enchanted sword. He now saw this and was extremely worried for her two friends. Sojo's network of connections meant bad news. She was certain that many sorcerers were now after them. The enemy converted the gooey stuff into clones to chase the pair. Chihiro, being clever, seemed to know that the best option for now was to get away. The clones chased him into an alley, where he used black. With a single slash, he decapitated all the clones in pursuit behind him. However, no matter how he attacked them, they wouldn't die because they were made from mud. As the clones were regenerating, the puppeteer villain blocking their path spoke. He claimed to have witnessed the super intense true power of enchanted blades before. Not all enchanted blades have the same level of power, and he knew that Chihiro was still an immature user. This led Chihiro to realize that the sorcerer in front of him had come from the previous war. He was simultaneously attacked from all sides by all the clones, the puppeteer, and another new enemy who had just appeared. But no matter the resistance, it would not end until he killed the puppeteer. Just as they were about to capture Char, Chihiro's thoughts were suddenly transported to a flashback. He remembered his cheerful father and his merciless murder. His mind kept replaying the event, constantly bringing him back to the source of his trauma. Waking up, he stumbled and dropped his katana. Sweating profusely and gasping for breath, he thought that his traumatization lasted for hours, when in reality, it's only been 4 short seconds. And this is the sorcerer that's to blame. He is able to track people's brainwaves and manipulate them to relive their trauma repeatedly. It seemed he had also used this technique on Char, who was now in the hands of the enemies. According to the puppeteer, this child was the last surviving Kayanagi. Looks like Shiba's suspicion that Char was not an ordinary child was indeed correct. Now the puppeteer wants to eat the child, believing rumors that consuming a Kayanagi would grant immortality. However, the other sorcerer said that those rumors were bogus. It's tragic that the Kayanagi clan had been wiped out just because of it. Wanting to know what was special about the child and why Sojo wanted to capture him, he tried to grab her leg to find out the truth. And he discovered something intriguing while severely harming the child. Large bulges appeared on her leg, related to the unique powers of the Kayanagi clan. No one understood or knew what it was, but they were sure that the child's life would definitely be unpleasant in Sojo's hands. The sorcerer intended to repeat his action, but then remembered he still needed to deliver the enchanted blade to Junichi Sojo. The puppeteer seems to be planning to do something really bad, but fortunately, Chihiro finally managed to move once again. Using his wakizashi, he swiftly cut off the sorcerer's arm. The sorcerer was surprised because Chihiro should not have been able to move due to his trauma. Little did he know, that very memory was Chihiro's driving source, which only strengthened his resolve. Using the nishiki, he decapitated the enemy. The puppeteer then saw a head flying through the air. And when he looked, he saw that all his clones had been decapitated as well. As Chihiro was drawing closer and closer to him, he quickly created a bunch of clones, but Chihiro obliterated them all with incredible speed. In a last futile attempt, he used Char as a hostage, holding her by the neck. But Chihiro just ignored this, and we can only see that the puppeteer's hand was already severed, and his body obliterated into ashes. Chihiro caught Char, and now knew the truth. The reason she had been unable to speak was that she feared he would use her special powers. But now she knew she could trust Chihiro. And of course, Char was hungry again. Luckily, Chihiro still had the other half of the sandwich they bought earlier, and so he gave it to her. After eating, Chihiro lifted Char onto his back because they needed to leave quickly. However, Shiba's vehicle was already broken, and they had nothing to use. As they walked, a new enemy appeared, Masked Sorcerer. And behind them was another sorcerer blocking their path. They were flanked by the two. Then a third one arrived. Chihiro's hands trembled with exhaustion, but he had no choice but to fight them. The Masked Sorcerer charged at him, and so did the other two. But before Chihiro could draw his katana, a man suddenly appeared beside him, restraining his hand. Then, just as quickly, the man vanished. Suddenly, the man was already in the air, kicking the third opponent. He moved incredibly fast, but it was just his natural dexterity, and he's not even using sorcery yet. The second opponent launched an attack, but the man simply caught the projectile with his bare hands, albeit wounding him. The Masked Sorcerer noticed the badge worn by the man and became apprehensive. The sorcerer shot at the man again, but a single powerful punch ended him quickly, as he just caught another projectile between his two fingers. The Masked Sorcerer simply surrendered and quickly fled. The man then checked on Chihiro, and it turned out they actually knew each other. He was Mr. Azumi. He had swiftly defeated the three sorcerers using only his physical prowess. Azumi bid farewell to Chihiro as he was still on duty and had another assignment elsewhere. That's because he is a current member of the Kamyanabi, an organization operating under the government. Chihiro reminded him that his right hand was still bleeding. That's when he finally felt the pain and cried out. At last, they safely returned to Hinao's place. Seems that Shiba had already returned even earlier, but did not look pleased to see Azumi. Hinao asked Azumi if he was there to take Char into government custody. Char was shocked by this, naturally, while Shiba pretended not to hear. Azumi said he wouldn't take the child, as it wasn't in the code of the Kamyanabi ever since the organization was formed after the war. Shiba was irritated by Azumi's comments. He's just happy that he had already left the Kamyanabi. So this meant that Char could stay with Chihiro if she wanted to. Azumi mentioned that the higher-ups had summoned Shiba to ask about why Junichi Sojo was after Chihiro and Char. But Azumi thinks that the truth is they just really wanted to know Shiba's intentions. Only a few of the Kamyanabi's higher-ups knew about Chihiro and the seventh blade made by Rokuhara. In truth, he should confiscate all enchanted blades because they are dangerous to the country. But since they were friends, Azumi kept what he knew about them a secret from the Kamyanabi. However, it would be difficult for him to hide the truth if they kept causing trouble and they kept being seen in public. Shiba promised long ago to watch over Chihiro carefully. But the thing is, their situation had already changed since Chihiro had already learned how to fight. Azumi was impressed when he found out that Chihiro could already use the enchanted blade, meaning his mind and body has become very strong. Although it was still impossible for Chihiro to master his powers in just 3 years. It is really impossible for Shiba to remain hidden and quietly active forever. Eventually, the enemy would notice them, and this is already the beginning of a time when events would become even more intense for all of them. Apparently, Shiba and Azumi knew of an impending summonus event. Chihiro had no idea what it was. 1 month from now, all the underworld big shots would gather for their annual black market auction, the Rakuza Ichi. And there, Sojo planned to auction off the Shino Ochi, one of the 6 enchanted blades. Meanwhile, in a dojo-style extra-dimensional space, 2 sorcerers from Hishaka summoned Sojo. Sojo just reported that their plans were progressing smoothly. So now we know that Sojo is still under the hierarchy of Hishaku, and he has 2 enchanted blades, the Cloud Gouger and the Shino Ochi. Azumi gave Chihiro a warning. The Kamyanabi has been chasing Sojo for a long time, but they still haven't been able to catch him. This means he's too dangerous and powerful, so Chihiro should not even think about meddling with the enemy. He should just let him and Shiba handle the operation for now. Azumi also had the bounty on Chihiro and Char removed from the network, so Chihiro shouldn't worry anymore. Chihiro agreed, but both his senpais knew he was only pretending to listen. Azumi looked at a picture on his phone of the 3 of them, including Shiba and Kunishige. It seemed that the three of them had actually been best friends since the old days. This was the first significant move by the Hishaku in 3 years since Chihiro's father died. They needed to prepare well because their enemies already has sinister plans involving the incredibly potent enchanted blades. Like and subscribe for the next one.